Hi, I'm Michael Caju.
And I'm Adee Caju, and you're listening to the WAG podcast. This podcast is about health, wellness, and personal development.
Each episode is a short conversation between Adee and I on a single topic with actionable steps. We cover everything from food, mindset, fitness, and relationships.
We started WAG because of the way health and fitness changed our lives, so we hope to share a tool or two that helps you along your way.
Hello.
Hey, Michael.
Guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are. We have an awesome episode for you today. Today, we're talking about Katrin Davidsdottir's nutrition secrets. It's going to be great.
KT.
KT. Oh, yeah.
KT.
She's actually called KT now.
Yeah. Well, that's like a little tidbit if people want to know. Katrin is not her actual name. It's more difficult to pronounce in Icelandic. I would butcher it, so I'm not even going to try. When she came to America, everyone just called her Katrin, but she doesn't actually love the name Katrin. She would prefer KT. So if you see her, call her KT. Or if you're Icelandic, say it appropriately.
How do you spell that? K-A-T-I-E?
No, just the letters K-T.
Oh, interesting. Cool. So before we get into that, I want to just talk to you a little bit about how you feel about everything new going on at WAG. We have, so for the first 3-ish years, all we did was one thing, which was one-on-one nutrition coaching.
Yeah. And I was like pretty adamant about it.
Yeah.
People tried to get us to do other things. We got lots of opportunities sent our way. And I was like, no, this is all we do. We just do one thing for one price. Just one thing.
And you took so much pride in it.
Yes.
Like, I'll never do anything else.
It's so much pride, meaning like I attached part of my identity, like my ego to it.
Right.
Like part of it was, I thought it was super cool that we only did one thing. And
It's so different.
It was different. It was unique. And it was like we were growing so fast doing only one thing. And yeah, I got advice from a couple people, like one being Doug Larson, and somebody was giving me a bunch of ideas, and then Doug Larson pulled me aside and he was like, Adee, you do this one thing really, really well. Just do this one thing. And I was like, oh, cool. And getting that affirmed I kind of get stuck on certain things. This is one of those things I got stuck on.
Doug is one of the co-founders of Barbell Shrugged, who's been a great mentor to both of us. And that's great advice. And it served you extremely well for a really long time.
For sure.
Then about 1.5 years ago, we started to offer some new things because our members just kept asking and asking and asking for the same exact things, which were, they wanted to become coaches themselves, and they wanted to go through the same certification or training program that our coaches had gone through.
Yeah.
And then they also, a lot of them were gym owners who were just referring a lot of their members to us, and they said, hey, how can we become an affiliate? How can we make money doing this? How can we coach our own members? And so we created the Coach Cert and the affiliate program.
Yeah.
And so my question to you is, how are you feeling going through this like transformation that we're going through right now?
I probably fluctuate between all sorts of different feelings. My first is that I am so confident that we have so many layers of decision making on the back end of WAG with our team, that so many people have thought about this before we've made decisions to push anything forward. That's why things move relatively slowly when we're actually going to put it out there. So I'm confident that what we're putting out there is just really having an impact, and it's amazing quality, and it's constantly getting better. And we have this loop of feedback the same way that we had with the membership program of we get feedback, we improve. We get feedback, we improve. Specifically, constructive criticism, we absolutely love, although it stings sometimes, but we love it.
One thing, I want to give you an affirmation on that, because you just gave me some great praise earlier before we pressed record.
I love that it's being recorded. Yours wasn't, but this is for everyone to hear.
One thing, so you get like obsessed on some things, and one of the probably most impactful things that you get obsessed on is our client feedback reports. So we have surveys that go out all over the place for those of you listening, to current clients, people who have canceled, people that are interested in just following us. And in my experience, when I look at that type of feedback, I'm very overwhelmed by all of the different possibilities. And so it takes me a little bit longer to organize my thinking and clarify what needs to be acted on right now. And you act so quickly. Like your speed of implementation of actually making our products better is lightning fast.
Sometimes
and
too fast.
and it's just very inspiring. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons why we have such a high quality service on all of these programs. And yeah, that's it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Appreciate
have that.
I'm taking it. I'm going to keep that one. Yeah, thank you. And I think that's just another testament to we have an amazing team that gets shit done. I'm not doing this all by myself. How else am I feeling about it? I mean, when we first started, everything was kind of like new and fresh and exciting, and you didn't know when things were going to break. And now the membership program is not necessarily like that. It's pretty stable. There's a lot of like systems in place. Like it's more predictable of how things are going to go. We're definitely making massive changes over there, but they're happening much more slowly and more methodically because there are thousands of people using the service, and we already have a fence built. We can't just like put a whole new fence. If there's problems, we have to look for the holes in the fence and search for them. So right now we're building a new fence.
I don't know why we started talking about construction, but keep going.
But yeah, we're building a new section, with a new fence. So it's really exciting, and also scary because you have never done this before. So you don't know what success looks like, and you're going and you think you're being successful and you think you're doing the right thing, but you also know from experience now, like building WAG at the beginning, I was completely ignorant and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Now I kind of know what I'm getting myself into. So I have a little bit of this fear of the impending breaks and mistakes and problems that we're going to incur. And so it's hard to identify where we're successful and where we're making mistakes because we've never done it before. So we kind of just have to like go and try. And
I love it.
Yeah, you love it. I love to I'm a little bit more cautious than you are. I don't want to do wrong by people. I don't want to upset people. I'm definitely a people pleaser. And so doing new things is definitely scary for me. And exciting.
Awesome.
I mean, it's fun. Like we're having a huge impact. We have gyms that are coaching, like a third of their members through our program, and that's just
CrossFit Central in Austin just launched their program, and they have 59 members.
Yeah, which is
That's
so
huge.
amazing. That's so amazing. Like think about if all 59 of those people, if not even half of those people, if 25 of those people transform their lives. And live a healthier and happier life, the ripple effect that's going to have in the gym, then the community, and how much of an impact that's going to have. And we're not the ones coaching them. So how much bigger of a difference we can make if we can do a high quality service, help people have a new revenue stream in their gym, stay open for longer, give better results, and just have healthier and happier people all over.
Yeah, it definitely feels like very meaningful work. Like we get to not only help people transform their own life, but we get to support families and businesses. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I think it's going to get cooler and cooler every year.
Oh, it's my favorite. It's such a blast. Cool. Guys, before we get started on KT's secrets, we want to thank you for leaving your reviews on iTunes and all of the other places. It is really, really motivating to us. It helps us grow the channel. It helps us reach more people. And so, thank you. I have one that I'm going to read that someone left. It's by M. Sums. I think the WAG podcast is the best podcast I listen to. They actually talk about what they say they're going to talk about. They never blabber on about something way off topic like most other podcasts out there do. They truly want to educate and share their knowledge with people. Love this podcast.
Thanks.
Well, thank you, M. Sums. I hope the stuff about the coat shirt was not too much of a ramble.
Well,
I hope you enjoyed
that. If it is, DM me on Instagram and let me know.
Okay. Where's my notes on this? So,
KT. Let's talk about KT.
Yeah. So you work with Katrin Davidsdottir, one of the most successful CrossFit athletes of all time.
Yeah.
in my opinion, one of the most fierce competitors I've seen in any sport. She is just so dialed in. I would say all year long, but she is just, when she wants to be focused and dialed in, she is absolutely completely focused, and it's so inspiring.
Yeah, there's methodical not being dialed in.
Exactly.
You know, everything is purposeful, thought through. There's no day that she's not thinking about it.
Nothing is by accident with her.
For sure.
So when you started working with her 3 or 4 years ago, was there anything surprising about her?
I started working with her after she won the games in 2015, in the season that she went on to win for a second time. And so we started working together. I think it was like right after she had won the games. And I was half terrified. I mean, I'm like, I can only go down from here, you know? Like, it's either we win the CrossFit Games again, which we did, or we don't, which, you know, I'm the change that happens. So thank goodness that didn't happen. But what surprised me about her, Katrin, is she can come across, like through social media and through interviews and stuff, as very regal and very perfect and composed. And getting to know her on a more intimate level, I got to see, you know, she's so real. Like, I think she's 25 years old, and she's just figuring it out and having a good time. And she's got insecurities like all of us, and she's scared, and she makes mistakes, and she owns those mistakes and moves forward like nobody else I've ever seen. She can take feedback or constructive criticism or mistakes, and she doesn't like dwell there. She doesn't sit and hang out and like sit in it for too long. You know, she's so confident in her value and worth that she's like, no way this makes me anything less than amazing. It's just an opportunity for me to grow.
Right.
It's incredibly inspiring.
How did you deal with that intimidation that you felt?
Man, I don't know. I think I was probably so busy at the time, I couldn't even like really think about it too much. But as soon as I was definitely intimidated, but I knew this was an amazing opportunity. So there was just no way I wasn't going to go at it full force. And there was no way I wasn't going to show up as my best coach that I could possibly be. And I knew that if she didn't like me and we didn't connect, then I'm kind of like her. Like, that doesn't mean anything about who I am or my value as a person. We just might not be the right fit for each other. So I just dedicated to myself to showing up as the best coach that I possibly could be. And I'm very confident that I'm good at what I do. So I kind of just did it even though I was afraid. Yeah.
I don't know if you can remember, but I can definitely remember you just being terrified. You were so scared of effing it up, and that's okay.
Wow. Michael Cazu saying effing instead of the actual F word. It's
weird. It's weird. I don't like it. But,
okay.
But we're reaching a wider audience that way. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the biggest lessons that Katrin has told you she's learned from you.
Okay.
And I know you have a big one that you've learned from her. So the first one that you learned, which I think a lot of people can relate to, but hopefully this will be new news to some people, is that carbs are okay.
Yeah.
Unpack that.
So when we started working together and looking at what she was eating, working. Sorry, I'm getting my expander out tomorrow, guys. I'm so pumped about it. When we started working together, she wasn't eating very many carbs. Like, she would, but there was this underlying fear over that having her gain weight or not being the right thing to eat. And there's this chatter in the fitness world of like carbs are bad. It's not nearly as prevalent now as it used to be in 2015 at the time. And even before then, it was even worse. But she just was kind of afraid of them. Like, are they going to make me fat? Is it going to make me sluggish, or is it going to not help my performance? So she didn't know that they could help her performance. So she didn't even know to try. Like, there are some people out there that maybe that isn't the best option for you, but for her in particular, it is. It works really well for her. It helps her perform better in the gym. It helps her recover faster. It helps her sleep better. and just getting the confidence to try it and have somebody who's making that decision for her, which was me, being like, no, you're going to eat carbs, at least try it. Like, worst case scenario, we're a year out of the next CrossFit Games, we can pivot. It doesn't matter. So yeah, that was like one of the lessons, that she could eat carbs, and now she eats carbs.
So like 20 years ago, the low fat, the like super low fat movement was big. And then in the last 10 years, the super low carb thing has become really, really big. And I think that's probably the type of indoctrination that she was kind of falling into.
Yeah.
Like I should be super low carb.
Yeah.
Why is it that with people like Katrin and so many of our clients that are very, very active, when they come into a more moderate diet with higher carbs and like a moderate amount of fat, why do they lose weight faster?
Well, in this scenario, I don't necessarily think it was about weight loss. It was definitely much more about performance. I think there's probably it really depends on the individual, of course, like everything else in nutrition. One theory that I've seen, one thing I've seen through experience happen often is that the restriction of carbs leads to just binging at other times. So I have a client right now who I work with, and she's been following a ketogenic diet for a really long time, which everyone knows we don't think is necessarily a bad thing. We don't harp on any diet in particular, but I don't think it's right for her. Like, her lifestyle makes it very difficult to stay keto, so she's around temptations all the time. So she'll be keto, and then all of a sudden, like, just completely blow out on carbs because of the restriction. So I think that's it for some people, where like being super low carb, they can't sustain it necessarily. It doesn't fit their lifestyle, so then they'll have these big blowouts that make it really hard to make any progress with weight loss.
Right.
And then having a moderate intake, for many people, it's not for everybody, but for many people, it relieves a lot of the morality off of food. So like, this is good and bad. Some people take that as, if I eat the bad food, I am bad. So when you have a moderate intake and you see carbs aren't necessarily bad, therefore eating them doesn't make me bad. And then there's less of this guilt or shame around what you're eating, which can lead to overeating or undereating. And then there's more of a balanced intake, allowing you to make progress because you're not having these huge fluctuations up and down.
I think another really big one is that a lot of people on super low carb diets in general, they're just not tracking what they're eating, but especially with a high fat diet, it's so easy to over consume on calories, right? And so when people start with us, most people will eat a more moderate diet. They'll start tracking what they're eating, and so they're eating slightly less calories, which just they're going to see faster progress.
Just because higher fat foods are so much lower in volume and higher in calories. So it's like
so much easier to accidentally overeat.
Totally, because nuts and cheese and oils and avocados and that type of stuff is definitely going to be like, you're serving, if you're off on the serving size, you're off by a lot of calories versus vegetables or, things like that. If you're off on the serving size, you're not off by that many calories.
So the second one is that feeling good is tied to your effort and your consistency. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So she has a really crazy lifestyle in terms of traveling all the time. Katie's not just one of the most consistent performers in CrossFit. She's also one of the most recognizable as well as most popular in media. So she was just in the ESPN Body Issue. She's speaking at the ESPNW Summit. She has a book. Like, she's out there. She's traveling. She's got sponsors. She has things that she has to do. And there would be periods of time where that would be really difficult and make it really hard to recover and feel good in the gym. And anytime we'd go back to some level of consistency, whether it was tracking your food intake or eating a certain, within a certain boundaries of types of food, or getting to sleep on time, or doing that type of having consistency in the big movers like attitude, sleep, recovery, training, food. If you have consistency in those factors, immediately she'd feel better. Like, immediately. And a lot of it's not just about what you're actually doing and its effect on your body, but it's in the fact of like you're being consistent and you feel good because you're following through on some consistency.
Right. You're keeping your promises to yourself, right? It's like maintaining the relationship with yourself. Like if you told a friend that you're going to do something, you're going to do 5 things and you did only 3 of them and you did that over and over and over and over, that's really going to deteriorate that relationship. If you do that with yourself, which so many of us do so much of the time, right?
Totally.
We say we're going to wake up at a certain time. We say we're going to work out X number of times a week. We say we're going to track, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It deteriorates that relationship and that integrity with ourselves. So by just maintaining those simple habits, she's maintaining a solid foundation and like belief in herself to follow through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 3 is taking space for yourself is important.
Yeah. So just like I was saying, she's busy. She's traveling all the time. She's got all these sponsorships. And when you go to these types of sponsorship engagements, for those of you that think it's all glamorous and amazing and it's the lifestyle you want.
It is.
It is. And at the same time, you're also booked for every single minute of the time that you're there. So you land, they pick you up at the airport, they take you to the hotel. You have exactly enough time to get ready to go to a meal that's chosen for, like every single minute of your day is booked.
It's very exhausting.
It's really exhausting. And so making it a priority to just take space for yourself is incredibly important. And that just gives you the ability to be on offense of the day instead of just being on defense and like being told what you need to do. It's like, I'm choosing this. And for her, that could have looked like in the morning reading like the Daily Stoic in the morning, or journaling for 10 minutes, or just sitting on the porch by herself and not have anyone bother her. And I think she's gotten tremendously better at taking space for herself alone without other people there. Even if another person's there, a lot of us have natural tendencies to want to host and care about other people's feelings, or if they're feeling uncomfortable or you want to make sure that they're okay. Just whatever, even just 10 minutes of anything that is just for you, or even just being alone, is re-energizing, especially if you're around people all the time. For people that are listening, if you have kids and you're a mom and you're a dad and you have to take care of your kids, just 10 minutes just completely by yourself can recharge an entire day.
Totally. Yeah. In our culture, definitely a lot of the listeners of our show are very yang, right? We're doers and we like to get shit done, and we don't have enough space. So in the same way as if you worked out 6 hours a day and you slept 4 hours a day, in the same way that would get you very little to no results because you're under recovered and your body doesn't have time to rebuild itself. When we do that with the rest of our life, it's the same. So a lot, we're talking about making better nutrition choices. That requires good decision-making, willpower, focus, and kind of presence of mind. We have to be aware of our emotional state and our tendencies. And if we don't take space for ourselves and give ourselves time to decompress and to recover and to relax from all of the doing that we're taking part in, our decision-making is really affected, and it's much harder to stick to these commitments that we make to ourselves.
Yeah, totally. If anyone listening, if you find yourself often saying, when someone says, hey, how's it going? Like, what's going on in your life? And you're like, oh, I'm just so busy. I've got so much going on. I'm just busy. Like, it's so common to hear people say that. You especially could use just 10 minutes of alone time, not with your significant other, not with your kids, not with anybody, just by yourself. And just don't just do it one time. Do it for a week and see how it changes how you feel.
Love it. Number 4 is focusing or being intentional about one thing can affect everything in your life. Explain that. So
it's like all around this whole busy thing. Like all of any elite level athlete is generally going to be busy. They have so much to do to be at the level. They're training 5 hours a day. They have to take care of their food. They have to go to the sauna. They have to go to the bodywork guy. They have to, and they also want to have a social life, and they want. It's actually important to have a social life to be an elite athlete. Like, it's could provide some balance in your life.
Debatable.
Yeah, I guess
It seems more enjoyable.
Yeah. For some people that can get really monotonous not to have one. Yep. But people want to love their life at the same time as well. So to find one thing, I think you talk about it, like the one thing that's going to make the most number of other things easier to accomplish. So KT will be in a hard time and there'll be like so much going on, and then she can really focus in on one thing that she needs to do that's going to impact everything else. So sleep is like a really great example where not getting enough sleep is the base of the pyramid. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're going to sleep in the morning. You're not going to get to training on time. Then it's going to push everything else back. And you're also not going to be recovered enough. You're not going to be feeling great. It's just going to make everything else harder. So just focusing on getting to sleep at a specific time in the evening makes everything else easier, because then you can wake up with enough time to like make yourself a meal before you go to the gym maybe, or you'd have enough time to take that 10 minutes of space and you don't feel like you're rushing into the day. Just focusing on one thing, that's something that her and I have definitely worked really hard on over the past years, of what is the one thing that we can work on right now that's feasible, that we can actually follow through on, and that's going to make everything else a little bit easier. It seems so basic, and we're talking about one of the best athletes on the planet. This stuff works for them too, you know, and that means everyone can do it and treat themselves like a professional as well. Just one thing that you can stick to that's going to make all the other things easier. Sleep is a huge thing. Hydration is a huge thing. Space is a huge thing. Attitude is a huge thing.
How you approach your morning is a huge thing.
Yeah. So picking one thing, just one thing, especially when life is busy and when there's a lot going on, and doing that instead of giving into the overwhelm of so much to do. If there's so much to do and you give into the overwhelm, you do nothing. If you do one thing, it's more than nothing.
Yep.
So we've worked a lot of that.
Yeah, I think this is a really cool concept that I had never heard before you brought it up. Like by being intentional about one thing, you start to become the type of person that is intentional about their life. And being intentional is like, I decide where I'm going before I get there, right? Whereas most people go through their life reacting to stimulus or reacting to other people or other things, right? And we all do that to a certain extent. It's just, to what extent does that rule your life? And as soon as you have one thing really dialed in that you are being like, you're deciding to do, and you're aware of it as you're doing it, you immediately start to become the type of person that can do that in other areas of your life. And that's when you start to be able to choose your behaviors rather than being run on autopilot, which is super powerful.
It is a skill. It's like exactly the same as doing squats in the gym. You want to get a heavier squat, you do squats, right? You do reps of squats, different types of sets, different rep schemes, put more weight on the bar, you make them heavier, you make them lighter, whatever it is. Like, you're building a skill of the ability to be able to squat. This is the skill of the ability to be intentional about your life. Like, I'm going to pick something to focus on with intention, and I'm going to put my energy towards that thing. Then you can do that to lots of things. Yeah, I love it.
Guys, this is a really good one. You're going to want to share this with your friends. I didn't know it was going to be this good. What's one thing that you learned from KT?
So the biggest thing that I learned from KT is loyalty. It's I like to say it's kind of like investing money in the stock market. A lot of people will put money in the stock market, and it'll be a bad year, the year that they put it in. And from what I understand about the stock market, there's always going to be bad years. There's going to be market corrections. It's going to go down. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. It's going to go up. But if you go and you're like, okay, 2 years in, it goes down. And you're like, oh no, like if I leave my money in here, it's going to keep going down, But when you look at stock markets over 10, 20, 30 years, you start to see trends where it's way higher than when you first started, right? So there's this little bit of like remaining loyal to the system, remaining loyal to the process, and knowing that consistency and patience and loyalty is going to pay off in the end. She does that in all of the areas of her life, with her coaches, with her friends, with her the people that she relies on. She will show up for them. She's there for them. And there's no assessing of other people's value to her. Mm-hmm. And she could be that way. And people probably wouldn't blame her for being that way, right? But she sees that there's value in loyalty over time. And that's where like deep and meaningful relationships come from. And that's also where her greatest success is going to come from. It's a testament to like she's had the same coach for a really long time and she's committed to that coach. Not to say you should never switch coaches, but I think there's I
want to add one piece to this because I do agree with you. But one thing that allows her to do that is that she picks great people in the beginning. So she doesn't work with anyone that isn't really high quality in the first place. And then if they make a decision that she might not agree with, she doesn't just like break up with them because they made one decision they don't agree with.
And when you say like high quality, it's not just about work output. It's like the types of people that they are.
Right.
She's picking people that are good people that are a team. And when you look at her, she's not just, when she talks about her success, she's not saying I did this. She's saying we did this. And I think she really believes that. Like, she's a part of a team. She's just like the one that's winning the medals, you know?
Right. And to piggyback on your concept of like compounding interest and investing in the stock market, now because KT has stayed loyal to you for so long and you'll have this deep relationship and understanding, she can put less energy, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is right. She can put less energy in this area of her life than her competitors and get the same or more results because of this relationship she's built with you and the skills that y'all have built together.
Yeah, definitely. Because it takes time. Like it takes time to build those skills, and there's more of a trust in our relationship where there's less of the discomfort of like, is this right? Is this not right? Like there's less of that. It's like we've proven year over year over year that we're making good decisions that are ending in good results.
Yeah.
So there's less of the worry or back and forth.
Yeah. Awesome. So to wrap it up, the 4 things were carbs are okay. So take that for what you will. If you're not eating any carbs, then maybe you can explore having a more moderate diet. Yeah. And if you don't know how to do that, then you can always hit us up at workingagainstgravity.com. The second is that feeling good is tied to your effort and your consistency. So just make sure you're focusing on small habits that can...
Less about what you're actually doing and more about the fact that you're doing what you say you're doing. That feels good.
Right.
Being consistent feels awesome.
And then feeling good is what continues to make you motivated and get you your results.
Exactly.
Number 3 is taking space for yourself is important. So be sure you're recovering and you're taking some time to rejuvenate and taking space. And number 4 is being intentional about any part of your life can possibly make you intentional in every other area of your life, which gives you complete control. Power.
Yes.
Something like that. Cool, guys. This was great. Adee, you're awesome. Before we get out of here, one thing I want to let you know of, we have started to do some podcasts where we're answering your questions that you're leaving via voicemail. If you would like to ask a question, you can go to workingagainstgravity.com //
We made that mistake.
Cool.
Somebody let us know that we were making a mistake. It's workingagainstgravity.com /podcast.
Yes.
And scroll down, you'll see start recording. Let us know your name, where you're from. Please be in a quiet place and give us a brief but succinct question. Minimal amount of information required so that we can play it on the show, and we're going to answer it for you.
Boom.
Thanks for joining us. Stay in touch by signing up for our newsletter at workingagainstgravity.com or on Instagram at workingagainstgravity.
And don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, and refer a friend. We'll be back next week with another episode. Talk to you then.